Okay, everyone, today we're going deep, like really deep, into the ocean. For a long time, scientists thought that the oxygen in our oceans rose steadily over time, allowing life to gradually spread from the shallows to the deep. They pointed to the start of the Paleozoic Era, around 540 million years ago, as the time when the oceans really started to oxygenate, allowing for the evolution of larger, more complex life forms. Basically, they thought there was one big event that led to the oxygenation of the deep ocean, and then life just kind of took it from there. But recent studies have challenged this long-held belief. Turns out that tidy story is not so tidy after all. The rise of oxygen in our oceans wasn't a one-and-done event. Instead, it was a series of events that played out over millions of years, with the biggest jump coming around 360 million years ago, right around the time hard fish were evolving. This new oxygenated world allowed for the evolution of larger, more active predators, kickstarting an evolutionary arms race that continues to this day. So, yeah, we're still figuring things out. The deep ocean is still a pretty mysterious place, but thanks to new technology and a lot of hard work, we're learning more about it all the time.
The ocean we know today is full of oxygen, but did you know it wasn't too long ago that it was actually quite the opposite? A new study is turning the way we understand the history of life on Earth on its head, by showing that our oceans have only been full of oxygen for about 540 million years. Before that, they were basically devoid of oxygen, which makes sense since the stuff that makes up 21% of the air we breathe is also what most of Earth's land animals need to survive. But how do you measure oxygen levels in ancient oceans? You can't exactly go back in time with an oxygen sensor. But what scientists did was look at the ratio of different forms, or isotopes, of the element selenium in rocks on the seafloor. When there's a lot of oxygen around, like when we're near the surface of the water, animals living in the ocean take up the heavier form of selenium. But when oxygen levels are low, like in the depths of the ocean, only the lightest form of selenium gets taken up. By measuring the ratio of these two forms in ancient marine sediments, scientists can tell how much oxygen was in the water at that time. And what they found was that for hundreds of millions of years, Earth's oceans had very little oxygen in them. In other words, our planet was in this tiny window of time where life as we know it could have arisen, but didn't. What a time to be alive!
This is incredible. A team led by a guy named Kipp went all out to gather enough evidence for their case. They collected 97 rock samples from 5 continents that were formed between 252 and 541 million years ago. These rocks were originally located along the outermost continental shelves of these land masses. You can imagine the effort that went into pulverizing these ancient rocks, carefully dissolving them and then purifying the tiny amounts of selenium within. Using a technique called isotope analysis, they were able to determine the ratio of selenium isotopes in each sample. And what they found was really interesting. It turns out that the ocean wasn't fully oxygenated all at once. Instead, it happened in 2 major steps. The first one occurred around 540 million years ago during the Cambrian explosion. This was the first time that oxygen levels in the deep ocean rose significantly, allowing animals to thrive. However, this oxygenation event was short-lived. Oxygen levels dropped again, preventing animals from spreading into deeper waters. It wasn't until about 20 million years later that oxygen levels rose again, allowing marine animals to finally take a full breath. This discovery really helps us understand how the Earth's early oceans evolved and how life began to flourish.
Okay, so you know how the oxygen in our oceans is at weird levels right now? Well, it turns out that this is not the first time. But then came the game changer, the second and truly permanent oxygenation event. This began roughly 393 to 382 million years ago during an interval known as the Middle Devonian. And here's the kicker. This deep ocean oxygenation has continued to this very day. This was the moment the deep ocean truly became a permanent, thriving habitat for complex animal life. This lasting oxygen boost had monumental implications. It wasn't just a minor tweak to marine chemistry. It sparked what some researchers call the mid-Paleozoic marine revolution, with oxygen becoming a stable, permanent feature in deeper settings. Marine animals finally had the physiological resources to move in and set up shop. The floodgates literally opened for life to conquer the deep. Crucially, this period saw an incredible burst of diversity among jawed fish, known scientifically as gnathostomes. These are the ancestors of nearly all vertebrates living today, including us. Think of iconic prehistoric jawed fish like Dunkleosteus, that massive armor-plated apex predator of the late Devonian. These sorts of large, active vertebrates could only evolve and thrive once the deep ocean became reliably well oxygenated. Oxygen supported their growth, allowing them to get bigger, become more active and diversify into the incredible array of forms we see in the fossil record. So, where did all this permanent oxygen come from? If you're picturing massive underwater vents, you'd be wrong. The real source is surprisingly terrestrial. The Middle Devonian oxygenation event directly coincided with the widespread emergence and spread of plants with hard stems of wood, aca trees. As these woody plants expanded across the continents, they began pumping significantly more oxygen into the atmosphere through photosynthesis. And as we know from basic chemistry, gases from the atmosphere readily dissolve into the oceans. So, the more oxygen in the air, the more oxygen would eventually make its way into those deeper ocean environments. It's a beautiful example of how life on land can dramatically reshape marine ecosystems. A truly global interconnectedness stretching back hundreds of millions of years. Imagine our ancient ancestors, the trees, doing all this heavy lifting to literally change the world for their fishy cousins. This discovery provides a strong vote of confidence for the idea that oxygen levels weren't just a necessary condition for animal evolution, but a sufficient one that dictated the timing of major evolutionary trends. It essentially clarifies a long-standing debate in paleobiology and marine biology. The appearance and diversification of jawed vertebrates in deep ocean habitats were profoundly, perhaps even directly driven by the increase in breathable oxygen. This isn't just a historical footnote. It's a foundational understanding of how life colonized Earth's vastest environments. But beyond the fascinating history, these findings hold a critical, and perhaps sobering, lesson for us today. Today, our oceans typically have abundant oxygen, existing in equilibrium with the atmosphere, a balance largely established some 400 million years ago.
The ocean is in big trouble. However, in many locations around the world, ocean oxygen levels are dropping, sometimes to undetectable levels. Some of these dead zones occur naturally, but increasingly they're driven by human activity. Runoff from agricultural fertilizers and industrial activity drains into coastal waters, fueling massive plankton blooms. When these blooms eventually die and decay, the decomposition process sucks up huge amounts of oxygen from the water, creating vast areas inhospitable to marine life. This work serves as a stark warning across time. It shows us very clearly the fundamental and fragile link between oxygen and animal life in the ocean. This delicate balance, we're talking about a balance struck approximately 400 million years ago, and it would be a profound tragedy to disrupt it today, in a mere matter of decades. So, the next time you think about the deep ocean, remember that it wasn't always the thriving, diverse environment it is today. It took Earth's first forests, pumping oxygen into the atmosphere, to finally unlock its vast potential for animal life. It's a story of terrestrial innovation directly fueling marine evolution, a tale of ancient geology shaping biological destiny, and it's a powerful reminder that our actions today can have equally profound, if not more rapid, impacts on the delicate balance of life in our oceans.
Welcome to my channel, where you'll find over 2,000 videos on geology, geochemistry, AI, and many other subjects. If you like what you see, help us grow by subscribing, liking, and sharing this channel.
YouTube elimina la barrera de los idiomas. Ahora ya puedes oír los vídeos en tu lengua materna aunque estén en inglés. Sigue estos pasos sencillos. 1. Abre el video en YouTube que quieres mirar. 2. Haz clic en el icono de los subtítulos. Parece una pequeña CC, está abajo a la derecha del vídeo. Si los subtítulos están en inglés, haz clic en el icono de configuración, el engranaje, también abajo a la derecha. 4. Selecciona Subtítulos y después elige Traducción automática. 5. Busca y selecciona Español en la lista de idiomas. ¡Listo! Ahora puedes ver y entender cualquier vídeo en inglés, con subtítulos en español. Así, YouTube te ayuda a aprender sin importar el idioma original del video.
I think these videos are brilliant, and I'm sure you will like them too. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell.